Welcome to today's episode of the Dog Training Dogma podcast with your host, Jonathan Katz. As you guys can see today, I'm actually in the studio by myself. It is, I think it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I decided I wanted to do this episode by myself just because it's a very sensitive topic, and it's a topic that I really don't believe is discussed enough. And I definitely think we need to talk about it more as an industry. And the topic of today is depression. Dog training is very stressful. We talk about, we do dog sports for fun. And what do we constantly see? Everyone's stressed out. You know, every time I see people that are like freaking out about trialing their dog, I'm like, this is supposed to be fun. This is your hobby. This is what you do to relieve stress. And what ends up happening is we end up stressing ourselves out. Now, I would say a lot of the issues are self-created. And they're self-created partly because we, as young handlers, we want to rush and we want to do this really quick, and it doesn't happen quick. It's something that takes time, and we have to condition this animal and prepare them for what they're going to see, and build all this hope that when I step on the field, the dog's going to continue to do what I taught them to do. And so, you know, it's a really difficult thing to prepare a dog to compete, but I would definitely say that a lot of the issues are self-created. I know that I did it myself by rushing the dog, by expecting too much out of the dog, by expecting this dog to do everything that I taught them to do when I didn't properly build that hope. You know, I one of the reasons why I wanted to do this now, it was sitting on my mind, and I've been thinking about it. I just got back recently, you know, from doing judging a trial, but Saturday was a mock trial. And I think mock trials are great experiences for dogs because you can get out there and you can train with trial picture. But it was also really difficult for me. I haven't judged a PSA sanctioned mock trial in, I want to say, maybe 7 years. And, you know, it's an opportunity for people to come out and train, but it was really difficult for me to watch a lot of these people train only because I'm watching mistakes that people are making that I used to make. And in that environment, I really don't feel like it's appropriate for me to tell people how to train their dog because they're not really asking for my opinion. They're asking for a score, and they want to know where they're at, or they're using it as a training experience. I like mock trials. I set up mock trials, but it's basically the picture. It's the picture of the trial so I can prepare the dog that when you see this threshold, you know, something good's going to happen, as opposed to when I pass through this threshold, you're no longer going to be rewarded. You're no longer going to be corrected. But, you know, dog sports are supposed to be fun. Dog sports are supposed to alleviate stress, and what ends up happening a lot of times is they cause stress. Now, where this conversation really sparked from was, having a conversation with someone and talking about dog trainer burnout. And dog trainer burnout is a real thing. We get to the point where our love, our passion turns into, again, and it's different for everyone. You know, I can only talk from my experience. You know, your love and your passion turns into very forced because dogs, you can't just, dogs are not race cars. They can't just put them in the garage and leave them alone. You know, dogs are living, breathing things. And then if you work as a dog trainer professionally, you know, not only is your hobby your love and your passion, but it's also your career. which means that that's how you feed yourself. And it's very important to be able to feed yourself. And dog training is feast or famine. Anyone that trains pet dogs will understand you're either, so busy that you can't take on any more work, or, no one calls for a week, right? The goal is to build up to the point where, you have a steady stream of clientele that is through referrals. And that just means you're good at what you do, because the client is the best business card. Oh my God, who trained your dog? Oh, it's this person. Call this person. They're going to help you, right? That's the best card, because you don't have to sell that. That's already sold. People saw the dog. People were they were impressed, and so hence why they asked for the information. But being feast or famine, you have to understand the fact that when Christmas comes around, mom and dad are saving up for little Johnny, the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. They're not thinking about dog training. Now, if you can condition yourself to understand the fact that when Christmas is over and everyone that either got puppies or everyone that spent more time with their dog during the holidays realize that their dog is not well trained and out of control, that's when business comes again, right? During COVID was a very depressing time for everyone on earth. But you would also see that, the majority of successful dog trainers, they were booming. They had a ton of business. I was very thankful that I had a board and train. I had a long-term board and train of a celebrity client. And so I just continued to raise that dog. And so that kind of got me through those times, because at some point in New York, I basically, given up all of my pet dog clients, and I referred them to all my friends that are trainers, because I'm on the road most of the time giving seminars, and I just couldn't do it. And I still wanted the people to have good training, so I'd give them to my students. I give them to club members. All of my friends train dogs, so I want to throw them that business. So that helped me through. But a lot of dog trainers were very successful. A lot of dog trainers made a ton of money during COVID. And then now you're hearing, are we going through a recession? Are we not going through a recession? But I would definitely say we're definitely going through inflation. And, as professional dog trainers, we can only get to a certain point, like what the average person can afford for dog training. Once it becomes too expensive, you're now cutting out basically 3/4 or 85% of your market, because you can only then you're only working with people that can afford extremely expensive dog training, right? So as a dog trainer, I always wanted to be accessible. Obviously, I'm going to charge for my time, and my time is worth money, but I still always want to be accessible. People always ask me, Jonathan, why don't you raise your seminar fees? And I said, I don't want to price myself out of the average person. Going to seminars is expensive. You have to get a hotel. You got to drive. You got to leave work. You got to pay someone to watch the other dogs. You got to leave family. It's a lot. And so when you then add an exorbitant seminar fee, it then makes it really difficult for people to make that decision whether they can do it or not. And I'd rather people be able to do it than not be able to do it. So with my level of experience, I choose not to price myself out of my market, which is the average person that is learning to become a better dog trainer, a better dog handler, right? I want everyone. I want to be able to work with everyone that I can, everyone from someone that's never held a leash before to top-level competitors. My goal is to be able to mold and adjust my system and my coaching to every single individual handler. So, but dog training is stressful. And at some point, we hit a roadblock, and we hit a point that we don't feel, we hit a dead end. We don't feel that we can go past that. And there is always light at the other end of the tunnel. For the most part, for some, I've heard of people that left dog training and never came back to it. I always have to remind myself why I became a dog trainer, right? If I would have stayed on my career path as a chef, God willing, would have, continued my career and been successful and, made more money quicker, but I just didn't love it. I didn't enjoy it. The actual act of cooking I enjoy, but, like working in an industrial kitchen, there's no love. There's no, you should have passion, but it's hard to have passion when there's no response. The only time that something bad happened, like that something was, you get any information is someone wasn't happy. So you have to just assume that everyone's happy until you're told that they're not happy. But, when it comes to dog training, the dogs, you're actively dealing with an animal with emotions, and the dog shows you emotion. The handler shows you emotion. A handler crying out of sadness and a handler crying out of, joy. So as an empath, I personally am gonna, I'm gonna cry with them on both ends, right? It's important for a true talented coach needs to be empathetic, and they need to be able to understand what are the emotions of the animal or dog that we're, animal or person that we're working with. And we have to adjust our coaching style for those individual people. I have new people come and work with me and they're like, why aren't you yelling at me? And I'm like, well, we just started working together. We just met. We don't have a relationship yet that I can start putting pressure on you. Once we've trained for long enough, then I'll start adding pressure. But it's just like a dog. In the beginning, you can use positive reinforcement and negative punishment. You're not going to use, you're not going to use pressure or aversives with handlers when you first start with them. I gave a seminar years ago at my adopted family, UK9BG, the Thankachens. I truly love these people. I met them through dog sports, and I'm wearing their hat to represent. And they're just absolutely amazing people, salt of the earth, good-hearted people. They do what they say. And I was just instantly, when I met them, I was like instantly attracted to, the family and like wanted to be part of the family. And, they've basically become my adopted dog sport family. And, when I need to vent, I vent to Tammy, because we usually have a very similar opinion, and, we can both relate with just being able to vent to each other and then not vent to anyone else, right? You have to almost create your own community. You have to find your own community. You have to find the people that you mesh with and you vibe with and are the right people for you. They might not be right next to you, but we have the internet. And so people are everywhere. And you have to find the people that, you vibe with and you connect with. And so that can then be your support system. God willing, you can find a club that is a good support system. But, I gave a seminar years ago at Stan and Tam's, and when a woman, she came out and I said, what do you want to do with your dog? And she goes, well, first of all, if you could do me a favor, please don't yell at me. And I said, yell at you? Why would I yell at you? And she goes, all my trainer does is yell at me. Like, that sentence in and of itself made me sad. What is she being yelled at for? Like, does she understand what she did wrong? When we correct the dog and the dog doesn't stop, they continue doing it. If we press the button and the dog goes, ah, and the dog continues to do it, they don't understand. We need to be able to communicate what is expected before we expect it. And going back to the original, like, one of the main mistakes that I used to make as a dog trainer is I expected too much. And I start my seminars with, my line is, I've been training dogs for over 20 years, and I spent the first 10 years fucking everything up. Now, I spent the first 10 years fucking everything up to learn how to do it properly. I spent the first 10 years making mistakes, so now I don't make any mistakes. Now, I still make mistakes, but I catch myself in the moment, right? A dog trainer's skill is not to never make mistakes, because we're dog trainers, which equals we're human beings, and humans make mistakes. I am not perfect. I'm a living, breathing person like everyone else. I just have a lot of experience, and I've just devoted, half of my life to wanting to be successful in something that I truly care about. And I care about dogs, and I care about helping people. And, it's how do you push yourself through these stressful times? What do you do when things get down? And usually when people get depressed and they're professional dog trainers, I would tend to say that usually it's their dogs that suffer the most. Not suffer by way of animal husbandry. People can still take good care of their dogs, but the dog doesn't get worked as much. I'm tired at the end of the day. It's the old adage of, the hooker does not want to come home and have sex with her husband or his wife, his husband. Because you do it for a living. When I was a chef, I was 175 pounds. What does that say? What does that mean? That equals that I had to eat to taste food when I'm cooking all day. And so because I was forced to eat, I don't want to eat anymore. Because I work with food, the smell of grease makes me nauseous. I don't want to eat. That's not healthy. So it's all about finding a happy balance. And so what really helped me come out of it, because as I said, I knew that it was my dog's training that suffered the most, the mock trial and watching all these dogs be trained and watching miscommunication, but not being able to say anything really took a toll on me. It really stressed me out. And I came home and I honestly just wanted to pet my dogs. I didn't even want to train. I'll train tomorrow, but I just kind of was not in the mood for it. I needed a day to rest. But because this topic is so weighing on my head, I just couldn't let it go, and I couldn't sleep. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come in the studio and I'm going to do this by myself, because I think it's really important for people to understand that you're not alone. Everyone goes through it. I'm ADHD, bipolar depression. I was dyslexic till I was 7. I have learning disabilities. I was in special ed. And I've now made it to a certain point in my career. If I can do it, you can do it. Sometimes people just need a pep talk. Sometimes people just need the encouragement. Sometimes people just need to know that you're not alone, and everyone goes through it, and we're not perfect, and you're not expected to be perfect. But it goes back to previous conversations that it's stop, don't seek out the attention of everyone. Seek out the attention of the people you care about. When I step on the field, I care about what the judge says. Other than that, I really cannot care. I care about my opinion, but, because it's my relationship with my animals. But for me, I try to train for the title. I try to train for the show, because I just enjoy showing my dogs, and that's why I do it. But it is stressful. And when does the stress go away? I won't eat trial day. I'll drink a bunch of coffee. I'll have, I'm gonna basically load myself up on, nicotine and caffeine until I've shown. And then, okay, once obedience is over, now I can eat something. And then you're really not going to eat again till dinner, because you're not going to eat before protection. I know that. I found a little tip and trick was before I was getting ready to show for protection, because you show obedience and then you take a break. And then usually protection, is in the afternoon. You might start coming down a little bit, especially I've been hocked up on nicotine and caffeine, right? And so I keep little 5-hour energy shots with me, and I'll just, take a shot before the handlers meeting, and it just kind of, turns your brain up a little bit and helps you focus. For me, right? That is not any medical advice. That's just, talking about using stimulants to kick your brain into focusing, right? Especially with my ADHD, it can be at times hard to focus, but, I really care about what the judge says and what I need to do. And so I really want to focus on memorizing the scenarios and knowing where I need to be and reminding myself where my cones are, right? It's not easy. It's not easy competing. When I went and did French ring, the stressful part for me was like, I can't move my hands a certain way. I have to bring my hands here and I have to hold it here. If I sniffle because, my nose is running, like I can zero an entire exercise. Like that was really stressful for me. But I love dog sports. Anytime anyone's ever invited me to we're going to the bar tonight and we're going to watch the game. And I'm like, I appreciate the offer, but I only like dog sports. Like if they were going to have a IPO trial or French ring trial or PSA trial on the big screen, like I'll go and I'll eat some wings and I'll watch it, but I really could care less. I'll be at a PSA trial watching a live of another PSA trial, right? That's how much I love dog sports. So you got to find what you love. Sometimes, for me, one of the times I got really burnt out, I decided to just teach my dogs tricks. Go hiking. Go do something else. Go do something that's productive that will help your bond with your dog, because are our dogs not our emotional support animals? Like they're there to bond with us. Man's best friend. What is dog spelt backwards? I know it sounds cliche, but I don't believe in irony. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in irony. I don't believe in coincidences. And so, dog spelt backward. What does that say? So I think your relationship with your dog is important. And so you just have to find what it takes to bring that relationship back. If you do behavior mod and you're always dealing with like shitty dogs that are always trying to bite you, or you're constantly working with all these difficult dogs, like go and do a puppy program, like go and do a puppy group class for the average puppy and help the average dog owner and kind of go back to remedial work that you would say is not as important, but I would say it's just as important, because there is no remedial dog training. All dog training is fluid. Bruce Lee said, be like water, take the form of whatever the dog is. It's train the dog in front of you, but, find the dogs that bring it back, find the training that brings it back, find the passion and find the love, because it was once there, meaning it can be there again. Sometimes you might just need a break. Sometimes you got to, honestly, sometimes people just need to go on vacation. When do we go on vacation away from our dogs? If you do, good for you, and I give you credit for doing it. But it's very hard. I go away and I'm like, I travel enough judging and competing that I'm like, I really don't want to be away from my dogs. But it's not healthy to always have to be in charge of taking care of other life forms. Like at some point we have to be able to be selfish and take care of ourselves, right? Because most of the time when we go through dog trainer burnout, self-care combined with mental health, is really bad. When I was living in Chicago and I didn't want to be there anymore. And, I was like 400 pounds. I stopped taking care of myself. I ate once a day at midnight or 1, 2 o'clock in the morning whenever I was done with work. And I woke up the next day and I could not care less about eating all day long until at the end of the day, now you're starving. And now what's available at the end of the day? Crap. Self-care is also, we try to feed our dogs. You see people and they're like feeding their dog all this amazing raw diet with a quail egg and everything. I'm like, what you eating? Ramen. That's not healthy. I'll be honest with you. If you ask the dog, they would say, I'll take a high quality kibble and you feed yourself something better than some ramen. Because if you're not there and you're not healthy, then you can't take care of the dog. So, the little kid that, mom and dad can't afford to feed anyone but the kids. And, when the kids look and they go, why aren't you eating? And you're like, oh, I'm not hungry. I had a big lunch. Like, how much does that fuck that kid up as an adult, knowing that, oh no, they didn't eat a big lunch. They actually couldn't, they couldn't afford to feed themselves. So if you told that child and they had the brain power to understand, they had the maturity to understand, like they'd rather share it with you and not eat as much because that would make them happy to see you eat. So self-care is important. Mental health is important. Talk to someone, speak with people, find that a lot of people go through the same things. And if people tell you that they don't, then they're lying, or it's a facade. People bottle it up. I used to bottle it up and then it would explode. And I hated that. I hated not being in control of my emotions. I hated that I allowed people to control my emotions. And so my active, focus as an adult is don't let anyone control my emotions. I control my own emotions. Now, I'm an emotional person, so sometimes emotions are going to take over. But, when things like that happens, I step away and I think about it. And now I sleep on things as opposed to making decisions right away. Someone says something rude, I'm just going to read the message, leave them on read, sleep on it, and then wake up in the morning and then try to come up with a better response than what would have been my initial response. Find the way to communicate, which is actually going to be communicative. People are going to understand you and people are going to be receptive and listen to you, as opposed to when you communicate with anger and, like, I'm not going to listen. I'm just going to, someone starts screaming, I'm just going to walk away. Like, I'm not going to allow you to upset me. And part of it will just be like removing yourself from the situation. I did an apprenticeship, and, my apprenticeship, halfway through three-quarters of the way through my apprenticeship, they look at me and they go, we don't understand. We've been trying to break you down to build you back up again, and we can't break you down. And I go, I don't need breaking down. Just teach me how to work with people. Teach me how to be a successful dog trainer, and I can make you money. But why are you trying to break me down? I don't need breaking down. I need building, and I need teaching. So to me, that was their inability to, like train the person in front of them, communicate and teach the person that they needed to teach. They tried to run that model into a dog training school, and it lasted 2-3 years and it was gone. Few people and it was gone. And their saying was, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That's not nurturing. That's not mentoring. That's not, instilling passion in people. That's that bullshit New York mentality that we have to have, tough faces because we see a lot of shit at a young age. At 7 years old, 8 years old, I was walking with my grandfather through New York City, and we got attacked by skinheads, and they threw rocks at us. And my grandfather, who was in his 70s at the time, maybe, I'm 8, and we're ducking behind cars to get away from rocks and bottles. Like, that's New Yorkers. We got to be tough. You got to be okay with walking down the block and someone just starts screaming and everyone just keeps walking and everyone ignores it, because there's just a person just screaming for no reason. Mental health is a serious thing. I went to therapy my parents sent me from the age of 7 to like senior year of high school. And my first 2 therapists, I hated talking to them. I didn't feel that they helped me at all. They didn't talk me through anything. I always felt condescended and questioned and never, nurtured and coached through my emotions. I thankfully, in high school found a psychologist a therapist that really helped, and it made me actually want to study psychology. And so, I just recently, in December, I turned 41, and now my drive and desire, like my midlife crisis, tells me to go back to college and finish my degree. I'm a few credits shy of my associate's degree. I left culinary school at the end because I decided I want to be a dog trainer, and I don't need this degree. And my love and passion for the kitchen was gone. I tried to get through it. And without passion, you're not going to get through anything. Like when times get tough, and I just remember being miserable. So, but now I hated school. Growing up, I hated school. But I always loved taking dog training courses, and I still go to seminars on a regular basis, and I bring these trainers here to Dogma because I want to train with them and I want to learn from them. And they're people that I respect, and they're people that, I want to have experiences with. And so I'm just going to bring them here to my facility, to my school, and everyone else can learn from them too, because it's really important. Sometimes when we lose our passion, we get burnout. Go find a new mentor. I don't care if you think you know everything. Like, go and find someone that knows more than you, because I don't know everything. No one knows everything. If I'm still learning, you should still be learning. Everyone should still be learning. The dog is still learning. There's no top. There's trying to reach the peak, but I don't think there is a top. You should constantly be climbing that mountain. You should constantly be working to be a better dog trainer, but really working to be a better human. My goal with students is, of course, I want to make them better dog trainers, and I am going to make them better dog trainers. As quickly as they can learn is as quickly as I'm going to teach them. That's how I train dogs, as fast as I can, as slow as I need to. So I'm going to do the same thing with my students. And if you come here with a certain level of skill, and I can, I can build upon that quickly, I'm going to build upon it as quick as I can. But really, it's about making better people, about making better humans, making people aware of their emotions and aware of being able to control themselves, and rewarding milestones in people's process of learning. The getting someone to say that training session was perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, but perfect for her was such a huge milestone that I went right to the grocery store. We have Reed's. Reed's is a 3-minute walk, 2-minute, 4-minute walk, like 1 minute by car. It's right down the block. And I went and I bought a cake, and I took icing, and I wrote in the sloppiest handwriting that I could, "Po Buddy's Nerfect." And getting students to be able to drop their walls and tear down their barriers so that I can teach them and make them better. That's my goal. But how do you break down the barriers? We don't break down the barriers with screaming. We don't break down the barriers with force. We have to break down the barriers through kindness and compassion, And when I went to dog training school, they taught us, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't it was basically sink or swim. You either did well or you didn't, and they helped you when you needed, but no one was going to hold your hand. And, I was in a class of 30 kids, 30 people, and I saw the writing on the wall very quickly that this is not going to be as nurturing as I need. I need help. So I'm going to pack up I'm going to find other strong students. I'm going to pack up with them. And 5, 6, 7 of us packed up together and did really well because we helped each other, and we relied on each other for, assistance in training our dogs. And that made us better trainers, and it made our dogs better. It made us better at testing and all that stuff. And because I knew that I couldn't do it by myself, and you can't do it by yourself. You need a support system. You need a support team. So find your people, find someone to talk to. I'm here as much as I can. I get so many messages every day, and I try to get to everyone as I can. But, if I showed you my phone, it's, I have 700 unread text messages, and at some point it's a very daunting task. And so don't ever think that I'm ever ignoring anyone. That's not my goal. Reach out to me again. I'll see messages. I'll think, oh, I got a message from this person. I'll look, and there was a message from them from a month ago. And I'm like, crap, I'm so sorry I didn't see that. None of it is malicious. It's literally from lack of time and lack of sleep. and, there's only X amount of time in the day. So my goal with this podcast is to, get into topics that people are not talking about. And, I sat on Google for about an hour searching for articles on dog training and its correlation to, dog trainers and depression. And I couldn't find anything. I could find a lot about dogs going through depression, and dogs go through depression. It's not anthropomorphism. Dogs do go through depression. When I lost my first dog, my dog Emily did not eat. She wouldn't eat for 2 weeks. I hand fed her like meat from the restaurant that I would bring home leftovers, but it was very difficult to get her to eat. That dog clearly went through depression. Dogs have emotions. We have emotions, and we have to be mindful of all of these emotions. So I really hope that people enjoy this. I hope I said something that helped someone, and if I can help anyone, that's what I'm here for. Not to get dark, but suicide is never the answer. That is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And as someone that has attempted suicide 3 times as a teenager, I'm very thankful that it was only attempts and nothing actually transpired. But I'm here if anyone needs to talk. We're always here at Dogma. We care about mental health. We're not licensed counselors, but we're here to mentor, and we're here to help. And if anyone needs help, that's what we're here for. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for next episode. Thank you.